Our apologies for the delay in our meeting, but we will open the meeting now, and please stand for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, on behalf of the board, I welcome all members of the audience to this afternoon's meeting. This meeting is a working session of the board to conduct the business of the district. The agenda for today's meeting has been published, and the agenda items to be discussed and or voted on have been studied by board members. I'll introduce the people here on the dais. With me to my far left is Recording Secretary Cindy Benson, Superintendent Larry Francois, board members Amy Cast, Sandy Hayes, Dawn McCravey, and Kimberly D'Angelo. I'm Janet Quinn, and I currently serve as president of the board. Agendas for this meeting, as well as minutes from our previous meeting, are available on the table at the back. And if you are here to address the board on agenda items, please sign in on the clipboard that's on the table at the back with the agendas. And you'll have an opportunity near the beginning of the meeting for your comments. So we'll start with the superintendent's report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As part of our ongoing work to transition to middle schools in 2017 and 18, we will have 45 teachers, principals, and task force members who will be attending the Association for Middle Level Education National Conference in Columbus, Ohio, from tomorrow through the 17th of October. Additionally, we have several staff who are presenting conference sessions at the conference this year. So Dr. John Helgeson, our secondary English instructional specialist, will be providing a session titled Activate the Adolescent Writer and Moving the Reluctant Reader. Patty Stevens, our secondary math instructional specialist, and Jeannie Flahiv, English teacher at Kenmore Junior High, will be providing a session titled The Key to Operationalizing the New Standards, Proficiency Scaling. And Dr. Debbie Montag, a music teacher at Kenmore Junior High, will be providing a session titled The At-Risk Student, a Curriculum for Intervention. So we're very pleased to have some of our finest highlighted at this national conference. Since our last board meeting, I've continued to visit schools, and over the last several weeks, I've been able to spend at least 90 minutes at Sunrise, Cottage Lake, Hollywood Hill, Timbercrest Junior High, Bear Creek, Moorlands, Arrowhead, Inglemoor High School, Woodinville High School, Kokanee, Sorensen Early Childhood Center, West Hill, and SAS this morning. I continue to appreciate the time with principals and the opportunity to visit classrooms. Continue to be impressed by the quality of learning and teaching that takes place in our schools every day. We truly have great kids from wonderfully supportive families, and we have wonderful staff members, and it's just a pleasure to get out and see that. On September 23rd, with Karen Orzinger and Robert Foster, I attended a recognition and thank you lunch for our Community Serve Day organizers. And it's, again, just so gratifying to see how Community Serve Day has grown over the years, and the number of participants and the number of schools that have been served, particularly the assistance and support being provided to our new teachers, of which we have a growing number each year as they set up their classrooms. And there was tons of enthusiasm and ideas at the lunch for improving upon the Community Service Day next August. So I just sense that this is going to continue to grow and get larger in the coming years. On September 25th, I attended the Puget Sound Educational Service District Superintendent meeting. Much of our discussion was focused on the legislative process, and then there was some interesting discussion. I think I put a note in your briefing from some of the superintendents in the region who are signaling their sentiment to perhaps refuse to send AYP letters next August should there not be a reauthorization of ESCA by then. So an interesting conversation to be had there. On October 5th and 6th with Carolyn O'Keefe, we attended the Pave the Way conference sponsored by the Washington Student Achievement Council. The conference was focused on equity, diversity, and closing the achievement gap. Pedro Noguera was an outstanding presenter. And I know that I've provided information to the board about upcoming conference in January that's being sponsored by WASA, WASDA, and AWSP, at which Dr. Noguera will be a featured speaker, and he is truly worth hearing, and he's got a wonderful message. On October 6th, later in the evening, attended the conversations with the board at Woodinville High School. I would say we had probably 25 to 30 parents and community members in attendance. There was a lot of productive discussion around the boundary plan, transition work, challenge, and a range of other topics of interest to participants. And appreciate all of you being here. On October 8th, attended the North Shore Schools Foundation Board meeting with Director Cast and updated the board on various initiatives taking place across the district. And just a reminder that the Foundation's All In for Kids fundraising campaign will be taking place the last week of October. And this is one of their 2 major annual fundraisers. So to board members and all others in attendance today, if your phone shows North Shore School District that evening, please answer it. On October 9th, I had the opportunity to tour North Creek High School with Director Hayes, and we were hosted by North Creek Planning Principal Eric McDowell. Construction continues to progress at a steady pace, ahead of schedule and on budget. And North Creek is truly going to be a beautiful school, intentionally designed. You can really see it as you tour it, to be the open school that will foster 21st century skills of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and problem solving. And then finally, on October 10th, attended the 50th anniversary and rededication ceremony at Inglemoor High School with President Quinn and Director Hayes were there as well. It was a wonderful ceremony that included a parade of the 50 Inglemoor High School graduating classes, as well as some spirited performances by the Inglemoor High School Alumni Band. Clearly, many of the alumni have not lost their chops over the years, and it was just a great celebration of the history and tradition of Inglemoor excellence. So it's a great way to spend a very rainy Saturday afternoon.
Thank you, Larry. Next item on the agenda is association and public comments. The North Shore School District Board of Directors has set aside a period of up to 60 minutes to receive updates and comments from association leaders and citizens from our community. The board expects speakers to address matters related to district operations, policies, procedures, and agenda items under consideration by the board. Comments should not make reference to any employee or representative of the district by name or by identifiable reference. Board meetings are not the appropriate setting for personnel complaints. If interested, there is a complaint process available through the Office of the Superintendent. Please note that because of the public governance process, the board may ask clarifying questions regarding topics not on the meeting's agenda, but will likely defer discussion to a future meeting if warranted, in order for staff to prepare any necessary background information for board members and for the discussion item to be included on a published agenda for the benefit of other parties who may be interested. Alternatively, a district employee or board member may respond to individuals offering public comment at a later date if warranted. When addressing the board, please state your name clearly for our records. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. There is a timer that will sound when your time has expired. We really appreciate your participation in the governance process, and we will start with association leaders. Sherry? Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Sherry Rudolph, PTSA Council for North Shore President. I just wanted to invite you to a few things that are coming up. We have, I believe you already received the invitation for the communications luncheon, October 19th. And then we have a parent education speaker series beginning on October 28th is our first speaker. It's a Wednesday, and it's at North Shore Performing Arts Center. It is Joe Langford. He specializes in sexuality, youth, and technology, and the responsible behavior with all of those items. So it's going to be very informative, and he's very affable, very laid back, from Seattle, and so much cheaper than the speaker that we brought last year. So, but I did see him, and he's very great. And already for March, Shelton View, Kenmore, and Lockwood partnered and are bringing him again in March. So I'm very excited to have some varying degrees on that topic. So also, just last Monday, we had the candidate forum. So there's all kinds of things that go with that. We did receive a threatening letter. I did issue a statement. It's on our Facebook page to give you kind of the details of what all went on around with that. So you may contact me if you want more information. We have legislative assembly coming up on October 24th. So we're trying to get all of our local PTAs to have a legislative advocacy representative. That has not happened yet, but we're just trying to, really encourage them to each have a delegate to send to Olympia. It's only one day, and it is in Olympia this year. And so also, we, Nancy, the chairman and the treasurer, Cindy Jensen membership, and she's doing reflections as well with Matt Martin from Kenmore Elementary. We're trying to hold what we call office hours all around the district, and so we've been in communication with a lot more presidents, different board members. It's been really fun. So to be able to meet so many more PTA board members that sometimes have that helpless look in their eye, but and we're able to, Nancy especially. Nancy's just a trooper. She answers everything so fast. So it's been great to be able to get those board members just excited about all the things they can do with their families and engage the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Carmen, Becky? No? Okay. And I don't see any other associations, so we'll go right to the public comments, and we start with Angie Youssef.
Good afternoon. My name is Angie Youssef, and I have 3 kids in the district. This is an excerpt from a press release given to the Woodinville Weekly and Bothell Reporter titled North Shore School District Challenge Program at Risk. The North Shore School District's Junior High Challenge Program is a self-select honors program in which students elect to work at a faster pace and are challenged with in-depth material. The district is looking into whether or not to remove this highly regarded program despite almost 1,000 signatures of support on the Save Our Challenge petition. Petition organizers are sponsoring an information night titled Why Elementary Parents Should Care About Saving the Challenge Program at Kenmore Public Library on October 22nd at 7 p.m. Concerned parents and community members are encouraged to attend. Currently, NSD junior high students can self-select 1 or more challenge classes by simply checking a box upon enrollment. The self-select nature of challenge allows highly motivated students from a wide variety of academic and socioeconomic backgrounds access to rigorous classes that will prepare them for advanced AP and IB courses in high school. Many types of students choose challenge classes. Highly motivated students with grit and perseverance, students who qualified for the HiCAP program in only one subject area, students who qualified in both subject areas but chose to stay in their home schools, or students who were unable to take the district test for a variety of reasons. Students whose parents are unable to transport them to the AAP school across the district also opt into the challenge program offered at their home school. The Self-Select Challenge program is about giving kids choices that set them up for success. Eliminating this program would do an immense disservice to the full range of students in our schools. Because any student can choose to take advantage of the program, it is a model of equity and fairness. But there is still time to save the program. It is our understanding that our school board will make the final decision on this issue. We implore you to hear the words of support from almost 1,000 community members, the parents, students, grandparents, and citizens who care about our kids. Others who want to find out more can view the petition by searching for Save Our Challenge at change.org. I'd like to ask anyone who is here to save our challenge to please stand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Shabazz Youssef?
Hello, my name is Shabazz Youssef, and I am a sophomore at Woodinville High School. As a 7th, 8th, and 9th grader, I took challenge classes at Timbercrest Junior High, and I feel as though these classes helped to prepare me for taking AP courses in high school because they moved through curriculum at a quicker pace than the non-challenge classes, which is something many people, including myself, need to feel as though we're occupied in class. This quicker pace of curriculum also helped to prepare me for the AP Physics course I'm taking this year, which does move at a quicker pace. Thank you, and save challenge.
Thank you. Angie Pezzi?
My name is Angie Hancock Peasy, and I have 2 kids in the district. I recently sat in on the district's middle school grade reconfiguration task force's academic subcommittee meetings. My impression is that the subcommittee is woefully unprepared to make a recommendation on the challenge program. Surprisingly, the district has given the committee only one model, the heterogeneous classroom model, to consider, for how the middle school classroom should be managed starting in 2017. How can the subcommittee make an informed recommendation based on facts when they haven't seen any other options? Will the subcommittee have the opportunity to see balanced and fair research, or has the district already made up its mind? And I added these notes just now. I was just upstairs in the subcommittee meeting where a slide said that the scope of work was research middle school instructional practices related to heterogeneous class groupings and education for the highly capable. If that is the charge of the academic subcommittee, then what subcommittee is researching other models? Also, the roundtable format of the subcommittee has to make it difficult for teachers to honestly state opinions without fear of retaliation. How can teachers who are sitting in the same room with their district and union leaders feel free to state an opinion that differs from that of people who hold sway over their jobs? At the very least, voting at meetings should be anonymous to ensure honest input from everyone at the table. Although the NSD community has much to say on this subject, the academic subcommittee has not asked students or parents if the current challenge model needs to be changed. The task force has been meeting for more than 2 years, and the academic subcommittee has been meeting for several months. But during this time, the subcommittee has asked for no community input at all outside of the 3 parents who are on the subcommittee. They have not even discussed the Save Our Challenge petition, which now has nearly 1,000 signatures, nor have they read the multitude of public comments in support of the challenge program. With the deadline to give a recommendation fast approaching, the subcommittee has admitted that they now have no time to ask for community input. In addition, the subcommittee's meeting notes do not appear on the district's website. In effect, they have made it nearly impossible for the community to participate in these decisions. So I would like to urge the school board to listen to the community, listen to the parents, and especially listen to the students who have signed the petition and left a mountain of supportive comments. Please listen to your stakeholders and save the challenge program.
Thank you. Faustina Devante.
Hello, my name is Austina Devante. I have kids at Leota and Sunrise. I co-chair the North Shore High Cap Parent Advisory Board. I'm also president of Northwest Gifted Child Association, which is a statewide organization. I've taken Nancy Chamberlain's challenge to continue attending board meetings until the challenge issue is resolved, so I guess we're going to get to know each other. Angie Hancock just spoke about how the middle school task force is not looking at multiple perspectives of research. I agree this is a huge problem, and I really hope that raising these issues is going to encourage the task force to start looking at a broader base of research. However, today I'm actually going to speak about a central piece of AMLE's own research that demonstrates a surprising thing, that heterogeneous classrooms or mixed ability grouping is not correlated with high-functioning middle schools. The study is titled "The Status of Programs and Practices in America's Middle Schools Results from 2 National Studies." It's one of the 5 resources listed on the Middle Schools Task Force webpage. The paper compares statistics from 2 large studies. One study was done with a random sample of 827 middle schools. The other studied 101 middle schools that were specifically selected as being highly successful by virtue of earning either the Breakthrough Middle Schools or Schools to Watch award designations. It compares the statistics of actual use of various AMLE recommendations in both the random set of schools as well as the highly successful schools. The study measures the actual adoption of lots of different components that AMLE encourages, everything from advisory periods, professional development, standardized testing, electives, interdisciplinary teaming, common planning time. So actually instructional grouping practices is actually only one issue that was studied among many, many, many others, many of which we would not disagree with at all. But zooming into the instructional grouping research, the study basically had 3 main takeaways. First, there has actually been a decline in heterogeneous grouping in middle schools over the past 2 decades. In 1993, 32% of schools used heterogeneous grouping. In 2009, it was down to only 23%. So in pragmatic use, schools have actually been choosing to move away from heterogeneous grouping, not towards it. And these are pretty small percentages to begin with. Number 2, heterogeneous grouping was one of the top 4 areas that was ranked as having no impact on standardized test scores. If heterogeneous grouping is not helping test scores, this would imply that the theoretical benefits of heterogeneous grouping for struggling learners doesn't actually happen. But the clincher is number 3. When the study compared the random sample of middle schools with the quote-unquote highly successful middle schools, there was no difference in heterogeneous grouping practices between the random schools and the highly successful ones. In fact, the highly successful schools had a very slightly higher rate of using ability group classes for math, science, ELA, and social studies. In conclusion, this data shows that even AMLE's own research does not show any correlation between heterogeneous grouping and being a highly successful middle school, by their own definition. This is recent, robust data with large N numbers of schools, and it's clear on this point. Thank you.
Can you
Christina.
tell me the name of that research article? Okay, thanks.
And it's linked on the North Shore website.
Nancy Chamberlain?
I'm Dr. Nancy Chamberlain, and I'm here again today to express another aspect of my concern over the proposal to use heterogeneous groupings and the challenge for all model in middle schools. The Middle School Task Force has adopted 4 guiding principles, 2 of which are challenge, relating to rigorous and developmentally appropriate curriculum, and equity, relating to access to rigorous curriculum. While I applaud the MSTF for their focus on these goals, I have concerns that the proposal to use the challenge for all in a heterogeneous classroom model will achieve neither. My concern centers on the struggling learners. On page 3, I have given you a figure with a concept that I know you have been studying, the difference between equality and equity. Below the figure, I point out several questions that we should be asking about our current system and about the proposed one. What is the percentage of kids who need supports to achieve proficiency at our current curriculum and standards? Standardized test scores for current junior high students show that about 17% of those kids have failed the MSP every year since grade 3. That number climbed to about 27% on the Smarter Balance assessment last year. Those percentages are very similar for current 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, the population that would be in middle school in 2017. The percentage below standard is roughly 40% for low income and 70% for ELL students. What are the supports we use now that are actually failing those kids? What will the percent needing support be when we shift that dashed line in the figure to a higher bar when we give them challenged curriculum? What are the additional supports we will need to give those struggling learners when we raise the bar even higher? Have those supports been identified? How will families become involved? How much will those supports cost? Austina referred to the AMLE's study, which I won't reiterate, except to point out one additional fact. The AMLE studies show that middle schools are increasingly having to turn to pull-out remediation classes in place of electives for their struggling learners. Up to 63% of middle schools use this as a way to help struggling learners who are not being served in the context of the heterogeneous classroom. In other words, in-class differentiation wasn't working, so struggling learners had to give up an elective in order to receive extra help. How is that equitable? What is our plan to achieve equity for these struggling learners?
Thank you, Nancy. Susan Cobb?
Hi there. My name's Susan Cobb. I'm here to talk about the challenge issue. I wanted to first thank the board and the task force that's been working on this issue. I sure appreciate the ability to stand up in front of our elected representatives and feel like I have some recourse for something I feel is not being addressed correctly. I have a 5th grade girl. She'll be entering 7th grade in 2017. So she'll be one of the first kids through whatever changes are made in the 2017. So I've been reading all that I can about this topic, trying to educate myself. I've been asking about the heterogeneous model. I've also been asking about our current challenge model. What I really like about our current challenge model is that any student can participate in it. All they have to do is check the box upon enrollment. That reaches so many students. It reaches those that are from various academic backgrounds, from various socioeconomic backgrounds. It reaches every single student in our district. So when you talk about equity, that's, it seems to me that that's the most equitable thing that you could possibly give them, is the choice to challenge themselves. I also have some concerns about the fact that the middle school task force has already been meeting for 2+ years and has not yet solicited community or stakeholder input. My fear is at this point that they already have made up their minds and that to move to a heterogeneous model, and that community and feedback, input and feedback simply won't be taken seriously at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Constantine, I'm going to let you pronounce your last name.
Hello, my name is Konstantin Komisarczyk. I have a 4th grader in the EAP program at Bear Creek, as well as a preschooler and a toddler. I am speaking today in support of retaining the Challenge program. I want to focus on the emotional impact a widely differentiated classroom would have on students like my son, who have an overdeveloped sense of fairness. I realize that my son may not be impacted by the removal of the Challenge program. He will be able to take the advantage of the AP program. But the overdeveloped sense of fairness is not unique to him. It surfaces very frequently among highly capable kids. I started to imagine what would happen if my son saw a student next to him getting an easier problem set. It would not matter at all that the problem sets are tuned to their particular abilities. The only thing that would matter is that the student next to him is getting easier problems. The emotional reaction to this perceived unfairness would be severe and would not create a positive learning environment for him or other students. Even a best-trained teacher would struggle. There would be a strong inclination to diffuse the situation by giving him the easier problem set, which would not serve to further his educational needs. Beyond the emotional response, he'd figure out very quickly that by doing poorly on the assignments, he'd get the easier problem set. One might ask why this scenario wouldn't unfold if we differentiated across classrooms instead of within one. My son is happy in an AP classroom. While he does grumble occasionally at home about having to do harder work than other 4th graders, he does not get the constant reminder of this in the classroom. Therefore, we avoid the corresponding emotional response. We have an obligation to provide a positive learning environment for all students. This requires that we provide a way to group students based on their abilities, whether or not they qualify for the EAP or AP program, or able to attend a different school. I support the Challenge program. I urge you to continue supporting the Challenge program as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Timothina?
Good evening, Timothy Knapp. I have 2 children in the elementary school in this district. I don't have a packet for you tonight. I'm very grateful, and I express my gratitude and thanks to you for the study session today. I thought it was well done. Tracy Malloy, I thought did a fantastic job, and I expressed my gratitude to her as she was leaving. I wanted her to know that I thought that she did well as well. So today I just want to leave you with some questions. Why adopt a framework for principal evaluation and then not intend for its success, as it clearly intends community and student learning as its focus? I heard a staff person tonight assert that principals are not fully appreciated. And why is it the community's desire to be heard and included a judgment against principals? Why do you have a system where the principal presents managed information to the evaluator and then gets to choose what focus criteria they decide that they want to work on without any objective accountability? Why does someone from the board tonight say that it's not fair to evaluate the principal on things we haven't told them we would evaluate them on, when that's what you have, the framework, you adopted it yourself? The board president says rather than build a model and system for problem solving, we've led the community to believe they can come to us. Okay, why don't you create and implement something that seeks to hear the voices of the community? They're crying out to be heard. That's what we're doing. We're taking our time out to come here to talk to you about things that are on our heart. Different experiences blowing up on you with different schools because they're not being taken care of at the level they need to be taken care of. So all your time and energy is being exhausted when you don't have things properly in place because they're not being heard. Why think that a community survey needs to be provided What is your resistance to hear from the community? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Timothy. Tina Stewart.
My name is Tina Stewart. I live in the Wellington Hills area.
Tina, can I ask you to just go a little bit closer to the microphone with a soft voice? Thank you.
Okay, how about that? Perfect setup. So I'm in Wellington Hills, and I was shocked to find out that you guys have a proposed sale and purchase agreement that has a proposed closing date of the end of this month for $11.2 million to buy Wellington Hills Park and put 2 schools or more on it, depending on what the configuration is that you choose. The information that I've gotten is that you have done certain feasibility studies, you have a proposal that is going to be before you today, and you've already been addressed on this issue at the end of August. The problem with all of this is that it doesn't make sense for our district, and it hits those of us who are taxpayers who live in Wellington Hills twice. We originally got this site as a mitigation for the bright water assault on our area. When the county found that they were pursuing a sports complex that was not suitable for the site, apparently they don't think it's suitable, and I agree with them, then they want to sell it to you guys, and you guys want to take our tax money that's supposed to benefit the schools and spend it on a site that's not feasible for schools. If you take a look at the site, you'll see rolling hills on a geologically unsound hilltop that's a watershed for creeks below. It's on the wrong side of the urban growth boundary, and it's not even in the areas where you guys are expecting to find new growth. Households within the urban growth area grow substantially faster in student enrollment than households outside of the urban growth area. We're outside. We've already got 2 beautiful schools. We have Leota and Wellington. We're happy. Those schools are within a mile of the park. And you're proposing to close this thing down within weeks of today. We didn't hear about this until just now. We don't want to see you guys get involved with a boondoggle, which is totally inappropriate for new schools. We support the new schools. We support all the wonderful renovations you've done at schools like Woodinville. Please find a more appropriate site to buy land in and hold for the future. Thank you.
Tina, I had a question. Hi. So my question, when you say the site was given to the community as mitigation for Brightwater, mitigation for Brightwater, does that mean that the golf course was purchased by the county? And how do you mean given to the community then?
I'm sorry. The community was
Tina-
provided with mitigation.
Tina, could you speak into the mic? Thank you.
Sorry. The community, as part of the Brightwater Agreement, was provided with certain mitigation money, the county was, to mitigate the effects on the immediate area around the Brightwater treatment facility. Our part, I think, was 16.7 million, and the county used roughly 10 million of that to purchase the golf course, which was owned by the UW. They have since done tons of studies, which got provided. I saw them on the list in the purchase agreement. But in essence, this site is not suitable for a big impervious surface development like you would have at a school or a sports complex. The sports complex was the county's idea. And the school, if you look at schools are big, flat areas. And this is on the top of a hill, and it's rolling hills, so you'd have to level grade fill. And by the way, there's the park road. Your own transportation department says you're not allowed to take a big bus on that road. They request all buses stay off that road. I know, because I have 2 kids on buses. So it's a disaster. And I don't want to see the school district get into this. I would love to see you guys build great schools on a more appropriate site. Did I answer your question?
I think so. It wasn't specifically given to the community. The county bought it, right?
We were considered as being affected by Brightwater, and that's why they provided the mitigation money, and that's how this whole thing even started.
Right. I remember Brightwater going in. I didn't realize that that was when the county bought the golf course.
There were some years between. I think the Brightwater agreement was 2005. The park was purchased from UW in 2012.
2012. Okay.
It's been a couple of years. It's under a lot of controversy. I just don't want to see the district getting into it.
And this is the first you've heard of it?
Yes,
Okay,
today.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Tina. Bill Stankus?
Good evening. My name is Bill Stankus, and I'm here as a representative of the citizens group Neighbors to Save Wellington Park. Our organization is committed to being an advocate for the open and transparent discussions concerning the development of the Wellington Hills site. It has come to our attention that once again private meetings and discussions concerning Wellington Hills have taken place. 3.5 years ago, our neighborhood was horrified to learn that a predetermined plan was in place to replace the park with a totally inappropriate sports complex, which included stadium lights, artificial turf, 50,000 square foot mountain bike building, indoor soccer field of about 60,000 square feet. And now we've discovered the North Shore School District has intentions of purchasing the park for the purpose of building several schools on the property. We are attending the meeting tonight to hear more about this new deal for the park property, and I'm submitting written comments on behalf of the Neighbors to Save Wellington Park. We encourage you to actively engage the community concerning the acquisition and use of this park. This is something, after 3.5 years, that has not actually been done, despite anything you might hear from Snohomish County, because we have been here since day one when they sprung it on us. And if you want a little bit of background, it was May of 2012 when they called the neighborhood together to tell us about that it, quote, was a done deal. We subsequently learned that it would have been in preparation for approximately 6 years before they went public with the information. information that the park was their plan. So anyway, that's my intro, and I'd like to hand out a few things to you if you have any questions.
Thank you, Bill.
Phil, you said, it's me again, right? I'm Dawn. You said that you guys want open and transparent discussions, and you're encouraging us to engage the community.
That's correct.
What would that look like?
Can you use the mic when you respond? Thank you.
What would that look like for the community?
Well, first off, I have to say that essentially in the last 3.5 years, we've been in a reactive mode to last-minute deals and last-minute, and we are in constant communication with people in Snohomish County Council and other departments to find out where in the heck everything is, what they're doing, and all the rest. So it's not like we're sitting back waiting, but the original public hearings that were done on the proposed sports complex, there were no minutes taken. They were manipulated in such a way, for instance, I'll give you an example of manipulation. It was sprung on the audience or people in the neighborhood were at the Brightwater Conference Center, and people started, we had to pass the mic around for people to respond to the plan that they were hearing for the first time. And a couple people repeated the story of what they thought about the park, traffic, noise, etc. And they were instructed by a county person to not repeat whatever was said before them. Later on, that information was collated in a tally form, and they basically dismissed it because they said, look, there's only one of all these different things. There was no collective agreement on a particular item of concern for it. At a second meeting, a gentleman stood up to ask about SEPA regarding the proposal, and a county person came up and took the microphone out of his hand and directed everyone to go look at the boards around the wall that had drawings of the proposed complex. So I guess what I'm saying for transparency is that there's public hearings, there's a legitimate interest in what people might say is what could be used for the park, what they don't want the park to be, how it fits in with the neighborhood, how it doesn't fit in with the neighborhood, that minutes are taken, there's a legitimate response in time to determine the validation of these kinds of things. For instance, I'll give you an example of something that we've had variations on SEPA on the park, and the first go around I took the section relating to geology, I had a tiny bit of background on it, and the Woodby Island Fault goes right through Wellington Park. Brightwater overbuilt the plant in order to handle any problems with earth movement. But the western edge of the park is a sheer cliff right above what we call the Primus building, and then there's Highway 9 and then Costco. Anyway, so you have this unconsolidated sand with the fault running right through the area. This was dismissed out of hand without any further study on it. So transparency to me involves legitimate study, legitimate reaction, legitimate listening to the community as to what they know about or have feelings about what this is about.
Thank you very much.
Janet Littlefield?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My family and I have resided in the North Shore School District for over 21 years, and I have 2 boys that graduated. I'm here this evening because for over 3 years I've also been actively engaged in preserving my rural neighborhood, something that I presumed that the state laws and Snohomish County codes would do for me. But I just learned on Sunday that tonight you would be discussing the agreement to purchase the Wellington Hills Park property from Snohomish County for the purposes of building 2 schools at that site that are yet undetermined. Rather than list all of the concerns that locating 2 schools at that site would bring, which incidentally are the same issues that would arise from building a sports complex there, I'd instead like to highlight the school board's failure to inform and engage the public in such a big decision. This particular announcement comes with a deadline of October 30th, leaving less than 3 weeks for taxpayers and neighbors to engage in the decision in any meaningful way. Yet consideration of this purchase began back in April of this year. I am left only to wonder why the school district in Snohomish County feel the need for such a short deadline. Regardless, the public has been effectively excluded from this process, even though both parties to the agreement, North Shore School District and Snohomish County, are public entities, and that the purchase of this site is funded by public monies. Furthermore, as is indicated in the purchase agreement that you'll review this evening, it appears that the school district is well aware of the laws that discourage the placement of middle and high schools outside the urban growth area. So I ask you, why spend $11.2 million on a property with such limitations? I also ask you to please give this decision serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mark Ballier.
I appreciate it. Do you want to give us?
Good evening and thank you. My name is Mark Ballier and I have 2 children in the North Shore School District. And I have to apologize. Normally when I come to speak before you guys, I have something prepared and I share it with all of you. So hopefully tonight I won't ramble too much. But first off, I want to thank all of you for the opportunity inviting the public in to the study session that was earlier this afternoon. It was extremely informative and frankly extremely enlightening. I think there was a couple of thoughts that came to mind as I sat and listened. Number one, it seems that the district is placing a premium on protecting the principals and administrators of the school from the community. And I have to scratch my head at this because as I was sitting there thinking, you guys, the board of directors sets aside 60 minutes of public comment at every board meeting to let the community speak. It could be, and it literally could be on anything. And yet, you don't give the opportunity for that same community that is participating in your schools the opportunity to share both good and bad at every one of the schools. And I'm not talking at just one, I'm talking at every one of them. That there are issues that are going all the way east, there are issues going all the way north, and I really truly feel that given the opportunity for an inclusion of community much further than what is already being included at this time, will give the opportunity for those evaluators of those district administratives to see not only the constructive criticisms, but the breadth of different good things that are happening at the schools that may not necessarily come out at those kinds of community opportunities. So I do want to thank you guys for allowing the opportunity for everybody to speak tonight. And again, I will be back, but thank you very much again for the study session today. It was very educational.
Thank you, Mark. Vicki Marshall.
Good evening, my name is Vicki Marshall. I'm here as a taxpayer. I own my home about 1/2 mile from Wellington Hills. I have been involved over 3 years with the neighborhood. When we found out that the mitigation money that was going to be delegated to the county on behalf of the neighbors Brightwater to be used to build a park, a rural park in a rural neighborhood. And that the county had decided that it wanted to have 9 soccer fields in this piece of property that is rolling hills, has only 2 accesses to enter and exit, and those are not set up to accommodate the kind of traffic that would be frequenting this area. So we engaged as neighbors to go ahead and do feasibility studies for 3 years. And to answer your question to Bill, what he would like to see happen for you folks to have the benefit of the kind of information we have been able to study, report, accumulate, and try to present before the county for 3 years. Maybe it's going to be a study session like this other fella maybe that's the kind of things you conduct. I'm not sure how you normally set things up, but I think it would behoove you to know the kind of facts that we have found out before you commit the money, because it isn't just the property that is not suitable. It's the kind of money that will be required to change the highways, the thoroughfare, the roads, the access that made Snohomish decide to back off. It's the the problem with the transportation to that place that the original owners, which was UW, found out that it wasn't going to be allowed to develop their proposed Bothell college over UW's, college of Bothell over there, because the property wasn't suitable for that, and access to it wasn't suitable, so they were just stuck with it until they cut a deal with the county using the $16.7 million to acquire this land, and found out there wasn't enough money left over to develop it. And now you folks are going to be in the same situation if you don't at least consider what we found out, and then you're going to be committing a lot of my taxpayer money to something that is going to be extremely expensive and not even, it won't even work as far as septic and other conditions we'd like to share with you if we can have an opportunity to do so. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes.
I did have a question. You say you have feasibility studies that you've conducted?
Yes, we've contacted people over 3 years in the community. We've gotten petitions signed. We've looked at the geography, the ecological, the wildlife, but mainly the roads and the sewer. The only thing that will be allowed to be put there is a gigantic septic system. And that will require, even if it's allowed, I mean, if this can go in, you're going to have to pump it every day because this is wetlands here. And then if not, if you think that that's not something you can do, then you're going to have to change the boundary to allow it to even be hooked up to sewer, because sewer's not allowed there. So there's many reasons that we have been able to come up with why. First of all, I would encourage you to do the simplest thing. Drive through it. It's 5 miles from here. Drive through that steep, windy road where school buses are not allowed to drive that road. We've called today. They're not allowed to drive that road because it's too steep and too windy to get there.
I appreciate your passion,
Yeah,
but my question was, have you done feasibility studies?
Yes, right.
And could you share that with the board?
Yeah, if we have a.
Could you send those to us in an email?
Right, we can do that, right?
Would that be something that was simple to do? And I do drive that.
Oh, good, so you know
Twice a
how,
week.
you know how the only way to get through it is that small exit off at 90 and then 156th, and so you're talking about terrific traffic jams and safety issues, and the road will have, the other thing is 150,000 miles, $150,000 the city of Woodinville allocated to their lawyer to look at how the impact will be on the city of Woodinville, and then we've also had a lawyer involved and still on hold about this. So it can cost a lot of money for you to even go forward with this because there's such, resistance, and it's not workable.
So Vicki, if you could share that with the board, that would be great.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vicki. Nancy Bacon?
Nancy Bacon. I reside at 14918 Northeast 204th Street in Woodinville. And I'm here about the Wellington potential park purchase also. I just found out yesterday. My comments will be fairly brief. I've supported the district's levy since 1974 when I bought my house in North Shore, and I've always considered North Shore to be a good steward of the money and to have built a good school system that has a lot of respect. So I guess I was quite shocked when I heard about this, knowing what has gone on. And the money originally came from King County to Snohomish County when she was asking the question. So we were promised a community park that was open space, low key, and natural, and that's what's there now. It's totally natural. It's a beautiful setting. It's a treasure to the community of Woodinville and Bothell. North Shore's interest in this site, I believe, seems to be illogical and irresponsible. And I refer to what Bill, Tina, Janet said in a letter that you'll be receiving from Rick Rambrou about urban growth and what the district's policy is on where you develop. So I've followed this for years since I've lived there, since the 70s. The University of Washington found this site unsuitable to build a school. So I guess I am surprised that North Shore is considering it. And I'm very disappointed that this is the first we've heard of something that's this momentous and this expensive. Thank you for your time, and I hope you really think hard about this.
Thank you, Nancy. Ken Smith?
So I originally just had one thing, but I'll do the new thing, then the one thing. The one thing's a compliment, and a big thank you. But the other thing is when you do real estate purchase transactions, you can go into executive session. And but I'll read to you RCW just to make sure, because I don't know if it's an issue or not. RCW 42-30-110, executive sessions, section 1, subsection B. Says to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. That's when you can go into executive session. And so if this property was not going to have a likelihood of increased price, that is perhaps something that was not eligible for executive session. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's just something to consider. And the involvement of the community sounds like a big deal. And so taking time on that, and it doesn't sound like lots of people are quickly trying to buy this property. So to perhaps take time on that and consider, no matter what you buy in terms of property in the district, we all know there will be people who will oppose that. It will have impacts, and that's unfortunate in the district. Schools are something we do have to provide. We're a growing district. So I will support you, and I think most people will, in the difficult decisions where you have to acquire additional space and property. But this is just an interesting question to follow up on, and especially if there's not been enough time to step back. The main thing I was going to say is a real quick thank you to the superintendent and to 2 directors. I had some questions over the weekend when I looked at the materials, and they responded very quickly, very completely, and I know that in the transparency group we have pressed for